Out of the way.
Watch out.
5 minutes left. I can make it. Come on.
What?
Okay. Calm down. What can I do? Oh, I know. Stuck in elevator. No. Okay, so you're stuck in an elevator. Here's what to do. Yes, exactly what I need. Stuck in an elevator, elevator stuck. What when elevator stuck inside? How to get out of the elevator. Finally. No. Okay, stop. I think we have all had that experience before. Well, maybe not while being stuck in an elevator, but as a matter of fact, searching for something on the internet became a real pain. No wonder that many people put Reddit at the end of their search query to avoid internet articles or ask ChatGPT instead. Well, let's talk about why so many websites feel so terrible now and why using Google started to suck. I won't waste any more of your time and we'll get right into the key topic of this video: search engine optimization. Often abbreviated to SEO, is the process of optimizing your content so it appears higher in search engine results when people search for relevant topics. Like picture this, you own a fashion brand with an online shop. The special thing about your brand are your handmade sweaters. So when people search for handmade sweaters, you will want your shop to be the top result, or at least be among the first 3 to 5 results. Well, sadly this isn't up to you to decide. It's the search engine that ranks your content. But to help you make the search engine understand how relevant you are to someone searching for handmade sweaters, Google does offer some guides and documentation on how content gets ranked. Reading through some of the factors that will rank the pages, you will have to admit they're pretty fair. For example, images should have an alt text, which is a brief description of the content in the picture. This way, people will know what the image shows when it isn't loading, blind people know what the image would show, and search engines can use the alt text to understand the image. Aside from content itself, technical and fundamental factors also play a big role in SEO. These are known as core web vitals. For example, page speed, which is how fast a page loads, layout shifts, which happen when parts of a website load late, causing the content to suddenly move, which can be frustrating and lead to accidental clicks. And also responsiveness, which is how a website displays on different devices like desktop, mobile and tablet. However, to avoid manipulation of the ranking system, Google doesn't tell you everything about how their ranking works, which leads to the existence of a lot of people who act like they have cracked the code. And they are willing to share that information with you, if you buy their course, that is. There are also a lot of SEO tools that promise to help you achieve better rankings. And well, using SEO tools like text analyzers are pretty much used in all of those internet article platforms. These tools encourage you to focus on a key phrase for your article, which should pretty much include the most important words of your article or the most important words of the search query you hope to be ranked high at. And those SEO tools want you to include this phrase over and over in your article, which is why you often read the same phrase again and again. While this may help enhance your ranking, these tools don't have a feeling of how natural the reading flow of your article remains. You know what? Let's write something together. To have a quite realistic example, I will use WordPress together with the free version of Yoast SEO, which is one of the most popular plugins for WordPress with over 10 million installations. So yeah, I've written an advertising text for our fictional sweater shop, including a FAQ and a discount code at the end. Honestly, the text is pretty horrible for search engines and for users, because there isn't really one topic it focuses on. But our tool doesn't seem to care about that. For the key phrase I chose handmade sweaters. And yeah, the tool advised me to use this phrase at least 2 times, which I already find a lot for a text that is this short. But there are more excessive examples out there in the real world. It also wants me to put the key phrase strictly at the beginning of the heading and to include it in at least one subheading. Of course, the tool would also like me to add more links and images to the article, but when it comes to the key phrase metrics, it is happy. And let's be honest, this is a completely terrible article, even before editing it. But those tools won't tell you something like that, because all they can do is count how many words you've used and how many of them are your key phrase. And did the changes make the article better in any way? It just encouraged me to use the exact same formulation multiple times. I mean, let's try to get a green light from Yoast. Perfection. Sure, the premium version promises to give better results, with features like being able to use synonyms for your key phrase. But looking at Google's official guide, the stuff tools like Yoast SEO are looking for are outdated metrics. Google rather states that an article should be written for the consumer in mind. And the practices tools like Yoast encourage you to are not really in the interest of the user. Yet, it is one of the most popular plugins for WordPress, which explains a lot. While tools like Yoast might be a good checklist for beginners, they are also very misleading and encourage bad practices. So we know why some articles are that weird. But if Google really doesn't care about these practices like they say, why are those websites still at the top of the results sometimes? Well, the answer basically is that sometimes better content just doesn't exist or even suffers from other factors that have a negative impact on its ranking. And another reason is that even if Google doesn't care about these practices, more than enough web authors think they do. So they will just continue using those bad practices. A quite popular theory currently is that Google intentionally made their search engine worse. There are several reasons why this theory exists. The most boring one, but probably the reason where the theory originated from, is the pure feeling people have when using Google lately. It just doesn't feel as good as it did before. Maybe we just became harder to impress, but thinking that the search engine simply became worse is probably an idea that quickly comes to your mind. And there are actually some things that could back this up, because Google makes its money by selling higher rankings. Rankings like this are always marked by this little sponsored text. And those ads are paid by a cost per click, which means companies pay Google for the clicks on their ads. So you could say every time someone clicks these ads, Google gets money for that click. But what if the search engine simply works so well that the sponsored rankings became irrelevant? Wouldn't this be rather inviting to adjust your search engine a bit? Contradictingly, there are things like snippets and AI in search results. Because they might be too helpful, companies may feel more pressured to pay Google for higher visibility. And while snippets are showing content from websites, users don't have to visit the actual websites, which means companies lose potential ad revenue or customers by reduced traffic. Another thing that might have a negative impact on user experience is that it has been observed that Google puts more ads in commercial search queries. For example, queries like best keyboard or product A versus product B are more likely to contain ads, because the user is already closer to making the decision to perform a purchase. While this makes sense, it can feel very frustrating to navigate through all these ads, especially when you're just looking for an unbiased comparison between products. So there is no real proof that Google did intentionally make the search engine worse, but there are several factors which would make it a reasonable decision for Google. Let's talk a bit more about the experience past your search query, the actual websites. Cookie banners are required by multiple different laws from different countries, while the GDPR of the European Union is the most prominent one. Well, cookies are basically anything that could save data about you. Some cookies only store pretty irrelevant information when talking about privacy. For example, cookies could be used to store if you want to use the dark mode of a website. That's why cookie banners separate between essential or functional cookies and tracking cookies. Because cookies can be used to store what websites you visit and how you behave on those websites. And these cookies can be used across websites and are used to create a profile about you and your interests. in order to give you the most relevant ads for you. And laws like the GDPR from the EU require you to first consent to those cookies. And this is a good decision, because opting out protects your data and gives you a more neutral experience of the web, since the ads you see aren't personalized. So it's less likely you're getting distracted or influenced to buy something. However, those banners are pretty annoying, because quite often they fill out your entire screen and make the option to opt out visually less attractive or require more clicks to reach. And since you only have to do this the first time you visit a website on your device, people tend to visit fewer websites, which kinda destroys the initial purpose of the internet and search engines. Instead of getting information about something over dedicated forums, people are more likely to get their answers from Reddit or Quora. And this is kinda sad. It makes the internet less diverse and seems to play into the hands of big companies. Of course, cookie banners aren't the only reason for that, but they resemble pretty well how every website has annoying features, which results in cut traffic to small websites. Like, even if you see a cookie banner that isn't designed as annoyingly as the worst examples out there, they are still linked to the bad experience you've made. Advertisements have always been annoying to many people, so people used ad blockers to get rid of them by preventing the ads from loading. Consequences were that websites now made less money since they've monetized their content using ads, so websites had to find another way to earn money. Many websites chose the path of creating sponsored content. For example, they will write an article about how unhealthy energy drinks are. So they start delivering all the science and facts on how harmful energy drinks are as you are gaining more and more trust in the article you're reading. Because those scientific claims may sound very plausible to you or make you feel like the author of the article is on a much higher level of expertise than you. And then the article is coming towards its end, claiming that there is an alternative, following a wall of text about how much healthier this product is, where they might even quote their slogans and suddenly become much more subjective than before. And maybe they will even link the product or happen to have a discount code. How nice! Because the company of that energy drink obviously paid them to write that article, or the company has an affiliate program. So every time someone will use your link to buy the product, you get a share of the money they've earned through you. While ad blockers aren't the only reason for the existence of sponsored content, they have definitely played a role in boosting the frequency of those articles. And unlike traditional ads, people are less likely to be able to keep actual content and advertisements apart. Another route websites have taken is the usage of ad blockers. Basically, they will check if you have an ad blocker installed by checking if the website is able to load its ads. And if you do have an ad blocker, you are greeted with a pop-up that you should disable your ad blocker. And if you don't, you won't be able to continue to the site. I mean, it's a fair deal honestly, but it's very annoying and interrupts your surfing experience. I mean, there's a whole South Park season about it. How the blocking of ads just led to more annoying types of ads, because they are harder to tell apart. But since sites like YouTube increase the amount of ads and Google disabled the installation of adblock in Chrome, people kind of feel like being challenged to bypass that and find a way to block their ads out of spite. In a better world, we would all agree on having a minimal amount of ads so that consumers aren't too annoyed by them and creators can live from them. Make clear what's an ad and don't hide it as an informative article. Oh! Huh? Why is my share so low? Whatever.